actually make an effort to record this match live. Fortunately, I goofed the recording software somehow. Figured I would still upload this video. The highlight is at the end, where I clutch the match by shooting down a Wyvern, which is perhaps the prop in this BR range that I dislike the most. I think it's an absolute ridiculous aircraft at 4.7, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that it gets an air spawn. But that being said, we'll sort of work our way through this. And most of this match is just showcasing the Mustang doing what it's good at. Staying fast, using a positional advantage, and thankfully I've got a pretty good team here. Now, I'm not necessarily confident of that early in the match, so I'm watching something like 4 of my teammates go after the same B-26 there in the background. But as it turns out, we do have some pretty solid folks that end up working together pretty well and creating a few opportunities that I'm able to capitalize on. And maybe the other noteworthy thing about this match is I think I'm running a 200% Silverline. I'm running a Silverliner booster of some kind, so I managed to beat the booster curse, which might be the most notable achievement here. I had genuinely thought that when I recorded this replay, I had sped things up a little bit, so. At this point, I'm flying over towards my Yak 3 teammate, because he has handled one BF-109 already. I figure if I can get over there and help him with this 109, we keep him in the match, we should be able to pull a 2v1 pretty easily. And the Yak 3 is a great plane, and when it's flown by somebody with a little bit of skill, definitely worth keeping around. Didn't get there in time to prevent that first pass by the 109, but now we've got an opportunity. The Yak 3 is still alive, still in it, so if we can get in there and clean the 109 up, mission accomplished. But the 109's got pretty good awareness. He realizes that I've entered the fight, and he just dives away. Now, normally you can't outdive a Mustang, but he bets correctly that I'm not going to throw away the entirety of my altitude advantage and go below his 2 teammates here to follow him. And that brings us to our next candidate, the always fun and engaging A6 variants. Don't think that shot enough, obviously. A better pilot certainly could have hit that. Actually had a really good advantage there, or a real opportunity there. But I did come in with enough speed that I have no issue exiting here. So even though I get really slow, the separation is enough that the zero is not a threat. And I've got a teammate that forces him to make some additional maneuver. And as I've said before, that's the dodge they're always going to make. So thankfully we were able to get some rounds on him. We get a fire. I don't know. I just sort of leave him to my teammate, so I don't know if he J'd out there. I don't know if he flew into something. I don't actually know how he ended up putting it into the ground, but I'm happy to take the frag nonetheless. A little bit of indecision here, trying to figure out if I want to go for the guys that are a little bit closer, getting tickets for their team, or if I want to fly all the way back to my base where there's a Spitfire and a Yak 3. Ultimately, I decided to go for the gentlemen that are working tickets. I think one of them might be the Wyvern that I encounter later, who has departed the area and just left this P-38L by himself. Now, the P-38L is a good plane, It has very good prop performance at low speed. So a P-38 wants to be able to use its roll, wants to get the fight slow, maybe take it vertical, and just use the fact that it generates energy very, very well at low speed. In a lot of ways, that's the opposite of the Mustang. The Mustang does not want the fight to get slow. Have a huge positional advantage here, and probably a not insubstantial speed advantage coming into the merge. And I don't take the head on. The P-38 doesn't completely stall for me, but gives up way too much energy. And, you know, that's just Mustang 101 there. If you get somebody slow that you can dive on, keep the Mustang in its optimal speed window, those are the kinds of points that you can put on the board pretty easily. Same thing with the P-47. You can stay in your optimal maneuver window, force somebody slow or find somebody slow. It's a good spot to be in. I don't know what happened with the Spitfire. We just have the one Yak-3. And Yak-3s are always dangerous. It's an exceptional aircraft. I assume this is the French premium version. I figure I'll go back here and help my team. He's actually holding court right now. So there's a Corsair, and I think the other aircraft's a Thunderbolt down there. And they're going to have a hard time tangling with the Yak-3 at low altitude on equal energy, because he's going to outturn them. He's going to be able to generate more energy than them, and that's a substantial threat. Lucky for me, though, I've got speed and altitude, and I'm going to tip this fight pretty heavily in favor of my team. The funky maneuver there is just to try to come down with the Yak on his 6 to make what's ultimately a high aspect shot a little bit easier. Almost get sprayed down by a teammate there. I've already got a severe on the Yak at this point, so now it's just cleaning him up. He looks like he's still flying pretty decently, so rather than leave my team to it, I decided to come in here and finish the job and knock his tail off. Now, we're ahead in terms of numbers. We've got more aircraft flying, and they seem to be pretty solid pilots. Good aircraft, but we're obviously behind on tickets. So we've got a couple people rearm, refuel. I advocate for transitioning to going for tickets. And I had originally planned to do that myself, but I end up RTB after this engagement with the 109 here, which I don't handle particularly well. I make some mistakes here, and namely, I'm not anywhere near aggressive enough. So I do score at least one hit here in the head-on, where I'm not as fast as I should be. But I should have immediately re-engaged here. I should have stuck this fight. I should have recognized that they were relatively low energy, and I didn't. It takes me way too long to realize that. And by the time that I do realize it and I recommit, I end up giving him a second head-on opportunity. So, better to be lucky than good, all well that ends well. But ultimately, I didn't need to take that damage there, and I end up forced to RTB because I didn't manage that fight very well. I say forced, obviously the plane's still flying, but I try a roll there, and the way that the aircraft just wants to snap over, the way that the handling is inhibited by the damage, definitely need to RTB. Not sure if they have an aircraft left in addition to the Wyvern. I encourage my team to go for tickets because at this point it's clear that the Wyvern intends to camp their base. And as we bleed their tickets, which the P-47, excellent, the Yak-3 chips in. There was a blind hunt that was popped on me at this point, but as we bleed their team of tickets, that Wyvern does actually decide to take off, and perhaps logically goes away from where my team is engaging AI targets, but loses track of me or doesn't expect me to be on this side of the map. And serendipitously here, we're gonna meet one another in just a few moments. I do make one pass here on a Studebaker, a ground target, as I figure, hey, I might as well help the team grab some tickets too while we try to figure out where this Wyvern might show up. And my typical accuracy is on full display. I swing out to the right there before coming back to try and give myself a little easier firing angle and just a better ingress and egress. Manage my speed a little. Doesn't actually help, but there's the Wyvern, and I'm not really worried that he's higher than me right now. I have enough speed here. I did get some flak right there. It was thankfully didn't damage anything significantly. And at this point, the Wyvern's still faster than me. But it's okay, because I can tail him, and while he can outrun me, he cannot outrun me and get tickets for his team. So he's forced to take this fight. And I want him to turn. I want him to make those big turns. I want him to try to come up a little bit here while he's turning. And he was faster. He's not really faster anymore. And I'm happy to just sort of work a lower aspect shot, not fly into the building. And just hold the trigger down. And anytime you can send the Wyvern back to the hangar, it's a good match. I hate that plane. But there it is. Pretty solid little ace for the Mustang.